What's good, gays and bays? Skelly Dilly here. It's been a bit. I'm still working on that ranking video I had mentioned before. It's been a bit of a heap to write, and there's just another obsession of mine I've been dying to talk about on this channel. If you read the title of the video, you'll already know I'm gonna be talking about one of my favorite films, Phantom of the Paradise, a 1974 horror musical, a glam rock take on the classic story of the Phantom of the Opera. If you haven't seen this film already, I'd advise doing so before watching this because I'm gonna be going a little bit into depth about a couple of scenes that really solidified this as one of my favorite movies. So let's get right into it. Just a short and sweet little summary of this film I can give is how a passionate composer by the name of Winslow Leach is taken advantage of by the infamous producer Swan. Winslow's music is stolen, and he's later framed and committed to a mental institute to basically shut him up. He only finally snaps when hearing his stolen music absolutely butchered. Injured and broken, but far from defeated, Winslow plans to take down Swan, but it's not nearly as easy as he'd hoped. Now, one thing I adore most about this film is how unashamed it is. It's very fearless and upfront as hell. I am also saddened by, but love how relevant this movie remains. How those with influence can do pretty much anything they want. How the industry tears apart innocent talent. And my one biggest love for this film is our vengeful composer himself, Winslow Leach. Not just because he's been the inspiration for a couple incredibly iconic characters, but this movie roped me in within the very first scene we get with Winslow. Our first real exposure to him is when he plays his cantata titled Faust, which is already foreshadowing a lot at this movie. He plays it at the Paradise, Swan's palace of all things music, but no one really pays Winslow even a lick of attention, despite how great he sounds, and that is no thorn in his side. What really hit me with this little scene here is how much I could just relate. I saw a lot of Winslow in myself just in this little moment. He is completely zoned out, lost in his music. It's so clear he lives and breathes his music, and when he's caught up in it, nothing else really matters. I too have had this feeling too many times to count when you've just tunnel visioned your passion in life. He's happy to have his music, and nothing else exists, pretty much, just within this moment. This introduction to him already had me rooting for Winslow. It really established what kind of man he is. And not much later in the film, there's yet another scene that solidifies this. When he meets our movie's main lady, Phoenix. He meets her through her auditioning with his uncredited music. Their first interaction is just everything to me. He's not even mad in the least hearing her sing his stolen work. In fact, he's joyous to hear someone with true drive and talent appreciating his music and just doing it justice. Secondly, that's why he even approaches her in the first place, because she's clearly talented. He has no ulterior motives. He didn't approach her out of attraction or romantic intent, merely out of love for his craft, just love for hearing his hard work presented in a way that has heart and sounds just great. He's just giddy to hear his stuff sang right. The way he's more into the music than Phoenix herself just reinforces how much passion he has for his music, how much it means to him, and that he's just happy to find someone who can do it right. Now, this movie has so many great moments, just amazing songs, and it's very visually unique, but there's one little scene that it really takes the cake for me, and has stuck with me like a bug in a roach motel. Winslow's voice restoration. This is the scene I've watched the most by far. I've watched this scene so many times over, and it just hits something different in me every time. Upon a first watch, it was just cool. Winslow being able to get lost in his love, his music once more, only this time with a more robotic tone to his voice, and Swan just sitting back and altering all the sound. This different take on Faust, it's just a great scene. And then I watched it again. A really nice touch is that Winslow's vocals are now sang by Paul Williams rather than his own actor, William Finley. It's to be expected that Winslow would sound hella different getting his voice back, but this particular choice for his vocals is just genius. It's such a perfect little showcase of how Swan has to put himself, his name, his image, into everything he can, everything he owns. In this scene that barely lasts 2 minutes, you get a perfect view of Swan's self-obsession and Winslow's very pure love and passion for music. No matter what he's been through, nothing tampers with his passion for his craft. And then there's Swan plastering his own identity onto Winslow, ripping his own identity away from him, all under the guise of just restoring Winslow's voice. How kind of him, right? Seriously, everything about this power dynamic, Swan's corruption versus Winslow's purity, everything you can get about these two guys is on full blast within this tiny scene, and my god, I am living for it. This scene alone has climbed its way to one of my top favorite scenes in any movie. It's just great. And a little side note, just a little tidbit here. When having a good buddy of mine watch this movie with me, the scene where Winslow first threatens Swan really stuck out to me. Like, in most cases, we as the audience would view characters that look the way these two do in such opposite roles. Now hear me out. Winslow is clearly the one who seems more intimidating in this shot alone. He's completely dressed in black, his face is hidden behind a mask made up of these super sharp angles. His silhouette is just already pretty imposing, not to mention he's, understandably, pretty aggressive in this scene. While Swan, on the other hand, is just so cool and calm, and his entire outfit is made up of lighter, softer colors. And he's far shorter. With that being said, it's kind of genius. Everything about the way Winslow looks and is acting in this scene alone should look more villainous by right, and vice versa with Swan. But we know that, in fact, Winslow is only a victim of Swan's exploitation here, despite what we see on the surface. Gotta love subverting expectations, seriously. This is just another one of those small scenes that's so very telling of these two's intentions and character. I mean, seriously, Winslow came here to kill this guy, and he is just being so casual about walking all over him, and just, yeah, it's crazy. Again, with the freaking power dynamic here, it's just... And seriously, let's give props to how much freaking emotion Finley conveys all in one eye. Seriously, it's so easy to feel sympathy for Winslow, even when you can't see 90% of his face through most of this movie. Everything comes from that one damn eye. This movie has given me complete and total brain rot, and I couldn't be happier. I urge you all to go give it a watch if you haven't already. And, with that being said, subscribe if you haven't already. When I'm not doing video essays, I'm usually making animatics or drawing. Which I will be drawing far more Phantom of the Paradise stuff, so you can go check that out on my Instagram. And go check out my webcomic. All links for that stuff is in the description. And I'll catch y'all around.